welcome in the voice of USF Bulls football. His name is Jim Lauk. He is joining us over Zoom. Jim, great to have you back on the show. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Okay, we know that the Bulls had a really tough season, 1-8 with a new coach last year amidst all of the COVID madness in the American Athletic Conference. What are the expectations for the Bulls going into 2021 based on what happened last year?
I think there's a lot of optimism that they're going to be better. Last year, you probably couldn't have scripted anything worse than what USF went through last year. New coach, new coordinators, young team trying to get a new system in. You get one spring practice and then everything shuts down. Your non-conference schedule falls apart, so you wind up rebuilding that, and you wind up opening up with Notre Dame on the road as your first game, and you wind up 1-8. So it's been a much more normal year so far. They had a full and productive spring. I think Jeff Scott and his staff know a lot more what they have and what they need to work on this year as compared to last year. And I think in terms of depth and talent, they're going to be quite a bit better, maybe significantly better. The fair question to ask, though, for this year is, with this schedule so tough this year, how many more wins does that translate to?
You mentioned it. You have a new head coach last year, and obviously year one doesn't go the way that you hope. But what type of impact has Jeff Scott had on this program, and what's his vision for USF moving forward?
I think he's had a very positive impact. He's done all the right things with the fan base. He's done some things that sound like no-brainers, but really hadn't been done before, such as bringing a lot of USF football alumni players back. He's been very active in that. He's been building really since he's gotten here. It's interesting to see his philosophy kind of change in his first head coaching job. When he came in, he said, I'm not a transfer guy. I'm not a JUCO guy. I'm really a build it from freshman on up type of coach. But as time has gone on and he saw the holes he needed to fill here short term, he has made some moves to get into the transfer portal and bring some veterans in that I think are really going to help in the short term, as he understood the need for that. So I think, he's a young, vibrant coach. He's got a lot of energy, doing a lot of the right things in the community. Now he's trying to build the program to put some W's on the board.
Yeah, let's talk about those W's and, in fact, take it a step further. Let's choose a number in terms of the number of wins this season that would count as a step in the right direction and qualify as where USF wants to go. Is that number 3 wins? Is it 4 wins? Is it getting bowl eligible? What do you think, Jim?
I've talked to the fan base, and I can let you know it's 12 wins. But
Isn't
for
it
those
always,
of us
Jim?
that are a little more patient than that, I don't know what that number is, more than 1. And again, I think that's going to show up this year. I think they're going to be much more competitive, even in the games they don't find a way to win. But, you look at that non-conference schedule. They open up on the road at NC State. They got to go out and play BYU. Their home opener is Florida. So it's pretty challenging. But I think you're going to see them be in a lot more games. I think the win total is going to go up. A bowl game this year, can you get to 6-6? Well, that would be a pretty good jump. But I think they're heading in the right direction. But I think there's a reality here that this is a pretty full rebuild for this program.
Jim, let's talk quarterbacks out here at BYU. We're obviously waiting for the Cougars to figure out who the starting quarterback is going to be for week 1 against Arizona. It kind of sounds like South Florida is very much in a similar situation, waiting to make an announcement as to who the guy is going to be. And obviously, fall camp's going to say a lot about who gets that job.
Yeah, the good news for USF is that they have a lot more options this year. They were really thin at this position last year. But there are a couple of guys that come into play. Cade Fortin, who is a transfer from North Carolina, was with the team last year. And I will always think that he was just about to take over as maybe being the guy last year, and then got hurt playing against Tulsa and was out for the year and didn't play again. But he's definitely in the mix. Jaron Williams is another intriguing one. Transfer from Miami, was a starter there as a freshman. So some good experience for both of those guys. And those are probably the guys that are going to battle it out for the most part. But there's another player involved as well. He's a true freshman. So I don't know how much time he may or may not get, especially in the season. But they've got a young guy named Timmy McClain who was just dynamic in the spring game. Left-hander, great speed, great running ability, strong arm. Going to be a factor down the road as time goes on. The question is when. Maybe he's a guy that they build some packages for as a freshman and he sees the field a little bit. But I think right now, heading into fall camp, it's probably Fortin or Williams for the lion's share of the snaps.
He is the voice of USF Bulls football. Jim Louk with us on BYU Sports Nation. Okay, you saw BYU up close and personal in 2019 when the Cougars made their way down to Tampa and USF pulled off one of their 4 wins that season. That was a BYU team that was a little bit injury-plagued and inconsistent for sure, but still a good win for USF. Now the Cougars lose Zach Wilson and 4 other guys to the NFL via the draft, but on paper look like they bring back a number of weapons. So what's your impression of BYU football and how USF matches up with the Cougars in 2021?
Well, it's going to be a project for USF. There's no doubt about that, especially going up there. This is only going to be the second time in the history of the USF program that they have played in the state of Utah, and it's an altitude that they're not used to. They don't go west into the mountain time zone very often. So that's going to be an adjustment for them. I think one of the challenges, and it was a concern in 2019 as well, is the offensive and defensive lines. Traditionally, USF has not been very big on either line. The defensive line in particular is a place they've got to improve dramatically this year over last year. They didn't get much of a pass rush. They didn't have a lot of strength or a lot of depth at that position. So, as talented as BYU may be at some of the so-called skill positions, I think one of the big challenges in this game for South Florida is going to be line play, both offensively and defensively.
Jim, great to talk with you. We appreciate the time. Hope you're enjoying that Florida summer weather, and we'll see you in Provo in a little over a month.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Jim Louk with us on BYU Sports Nation, the voice of USF Bulls football.